Oh man, oh man. I've been waiting to talk to this guy for a long time. I must tell you, this is starting to pop with Don Kincaid and my very special guest, the Hitman for Hire, Mr. Grimm. Thank you for spending the time with us today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you inviting me, man. I look a little rough due to the current situation, but
The whole hair thing looks a little bit different. You know, you've got the hawk going, but you got some stuff around there. I know the barber shops are on a hiatus, so it is what it is, right, my man?
yeah. I think the screen just froze up for a second. I don't know what just happened, but you kind of went away for a second, and now you're back.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I know the barber shops and stuff are down, so while we're down, you know, you just got to kind of take what you got with the whole do. Luckily, my hair don't grow. I just got this bald spot that kind of hangs around, so that's all, you know. uh,
Lucky you.
well, first off, I'd like to ask you, because of everything that's going on, you yourself, your family, and everybody, you're all good, correct?
Yeah, we're good. Can't complain
Oh,
at
that's
all.
awesome. Okay. Uh, you know,
My only
it's, a,
thing is,
it's such a it's a very weird time right now.
you said what?
I said it's a very odd time. We don't
Def-
have wrestling in our lives. And what I do is I try to reach out to the men and women that I've met over the course in different promotions. And we try to get the fans to get to know you a little bit better. Maybe peel back the curtain a little bit, talk maybe your evolution of character, if there is one, or however you came about and all of that good stuff. We just kind of like have fun off the cuff, you know?
yeah.
Well, Mr. Grimm, first off, I've only seen you perform a few times, but when I have seen you perform, you caught my eye right off the ripper. You come out, you've got a lot of charisma, and I tell you, you come down and you scare the shit out of me. Just putting that out there. Uh, you come down. Not only do you come down with a quite the stature, you're a big guy. You bring a body bag to the ring with you. That's a little addition that I'd like to talk to you about. But first, I'd like to talk about where I first saw you, and if I'm not mistaken, it was at Nova Promotions and at a XWA Center. I believe that's the first time I did meet you. XWA Center, we have a lot of fun at that place.
Def-
Are you a champion at the Nova Promotions right now?
not anymore. I actually lost it to what was the king? The king, what's his name?
Oh, King Leon the Sixth.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, and then him and his squire cheated me out of the title. And come to think about it, I never received my title shot.
Mm. Well,
A
the
rematch.
reason why now I do kind of follow, and I did know the answer to that question, but I want to see your response on King Leon the Sixth, because if he's still now the current, it's the Apex Championship, is that correct?
Yeah.
Now, if he's still the current champion and that damn squire that hangs around with him, uh, there is a rematch that should be in the works down the road. In my eyes, as a fan, I would think. But with that being said, sir, he's not King Leon the Sixth anymore. He is now King Leon the Black Blade. He's gone very dark. It's a whole different ambiance. Have you seen this transition of one King Leon the Sixth at all?
No, I just look at it as his midlife crisis.
Oh, woo! I said it. You said it. I did it. Now at the XWA Center, I love that place because it's like this whole cool. You walk in. It's their own building. It's not like they go from place to place. You walk in and it's real cool setup. The ramp, the little pyro stuff that they got. You got a concession, a little merch table there. Do you like that XWA Center setup over there?
I actually enjoy, working there. Mike and Jose, every time that I've been there, they've been very good to me. Nothing but professional, and their hospitality, is excellent. So I have nothing bad to say about, the owners, XWA. And then, on top of that, they even created a entrance video for me. So, that on top of, the pyro and, the brick background that you get when you're coming out, I love the fans. I love XWA in general, man.
Such a cool spot, man. I love to pieces. Now that's about a 2 hour ride for me, and I was going there quite regularly, but I kind of fell off that XWA scene live. But I've been watching it on, the social media. But I got to get back up to the XWA Center, man. Such a fantastic place. Now, are there any other promotions? Because I know I did touch on the Apex Championship. Are there any promotions right now that Mr. Grimm is currently the champion of?
Yeah, right now, I'm the current Wrestlers Lab champion and the current Nucleus champion for Wrestlers Laboratory. I'm the heavyweight champion for Raise the Bar Wrestling, and I am the heavyweight champion for 1CW Pro Wrestling.
Oh, wow. So right now you're carrying 4 championships?
Yes.
Wow, man. Now, Wrestlers Lab, I am familiar with. They were doing like pre-show stuff, a match or two, like a kind of a warm-up, an
Yep.
opener, like a band opener, if you will. But now they've opened it up a little bit more. They're doing their own shows. They have their own championships. And again, that's like a 3+ hour drive for me in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. That's
Man, what a fantastic few shows, because there's only been a few, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3. Is that correct?
On their own, I believe it's been 2.
Okay. Now, down at Wrestlers Laboratory, I'm going to bring up a name that has kind of been really part of that company, uh, Mark Adam Haggerty. Are you familiar with Mark Adam Haggerty at all, sir?
Yeah, I'm real cool with Mark. He's a cool dude.
He's kind of taken on a role at one point. I don't know where his position is, but if I'm not mistaken, he kind of took the reins as like a general manager or something. Could you tell us what position he plays at Wrestlers Laboratory right now?
I mean, he's somewhat like an enforcer, matchmaker, so to speak. Tries to keep the peace.
Okay. Have you had any run-ins with him, like, storyline at all?
Well, the only run-in that I had with him was when I had the unification match for the Wrestlers Lab Nucleus title and the Wrestlers Lab Championship, and he got in the way and he threatened to cancel my match while I was already in the ring, and I informed him that if you do, I'll body bag you and then I'll have the match and leave you in here until it's over. So we had that match.
Mark Adam Haggerty, what a character and a half that guy is. Love me some MAH. Now, you're holding 2 current championships. What does each one represent? Is that a heavyweight championship and like a cruiserweight championship, or what do we got going on with these 2 titles?
Well, one is with the Wrestlers Lab owners try to do, they try to be different. Okay. So like their whole Wrestlers Lab, they're experimenting. So what they did was they got like a beaker, as their first championship. And it was like literally like a trophy with a beaker on top of it. And, that's what it was. So, it was very unique. It's very different. I haven't seen anybody else do it. And they did.
Now, what is the Nucleus Championship? How does that be represented? What is that?
Well, that's like the undercard. Well, not really the undercard, but like the mid card and the champion. Yeah, is the top. But
Oh, go ahead.
The Nucleus was their only title at first, so that was like, the only championship they had at one point. And then once I, won or had the match for the championship, not the Nucleus, but the Wrestlers Lab Championship, they kind of, I had to relinquish it. So now I have it back.
Now the Nucleus, that's a championship, or is it a trophy as kind of something like the other one?
No, it's a championship.
Okay.
Matter of fact, hold on. Give me like 1 second.
Oh,
and I'll
Yeah, bring it on. I love when the wrestlers show us the hardware, if you will. That is fantastic. I love this stuff. Uh, I did mention body bag. He's also mentioned the word body bag. We're we're definitely going to dive into that in a little bit. But I'll tell you, Mr. Grimm, I've only seen him perform again, like I've said, a few times. So for me personally, this is kind of cool getting him to do a sit down interview because I didn't actually think he was going to say yes because I've never really spoken to him outside of the ring. So when you approach, oh, there he is.
All right. So this right here is the nucleus.
That is cool.
So it's like I said, it's like a like a beaker that scientists would use for their experiments.
Right. That is.
This is the championship.
Oh wow!
If you look, it has the beaker on the top of it.
Yeah, man. I love their logo. Ever since the Wrestlers Lab came out, and I dig their logo. It's like you said, even that trophy is very unique and different. But so isn't their logo. It's totally different than anybody's put out there. So that's what kind of caught my eye for the Wrestlers Lab. Very unique. There was one thing that happened there that I'd like to talk specifically about. Mark Adam Haggerty got decapitated by Killian McMurphy. Were you happen to be present during that whole thing? Because it was a battle royal thing going on.
Well, I was there, but I didn't pay attention to it because, when I'm at a show, I'm mainly focused on my match and getting prepared.
I got you. Do you do any kind of pre-show preparation, like maybe listen to music or anything specific before you come out through those curtains?
Well, usually I just stretch. I stretch, get my head in the game, and always tell myself, it's either them or it's me. And if you're standing across from me, I'm the one who always wants to win. I mean, that's just how, how I was bred.
Mm-hmm. Now, if we wanted to go look for the fans, if we wanted to go find Wrestlers Laboratory, do we just type in Wrestlers Lab? Do we just type in Wrestlers Lab and that's it, and we'll be able to find it?
Well, if you go on Facebook, YouTube, you can type in Wrestlers Lab, Wrestlers Laboratory, and it should come up. They have various amount of matches that you can watch, and it goes back. They have people like Flip Gordon. Before he blew up, he was on there, and Josh Briggs, he was on there. So it's like they have a cut and MJF. Let me go as far like MJF is on there. So if you want to catch matches with people that were there before they blew up, go to the Wrestlers Lab. Look on their YouTube.
That's what I love about the independent wrestling, sir. Is I love watching the men and women come up through their career and then hit that big stage. I just think. We all like the big stage, the WWE and so forth, but I just love the independent scene because of that fact that you just spoke of right now, man. Before they really blow up, we got to see them kind of come up through their career.
Yeah.
Now, you spoke of other championships. Give us the name of the company again so we, the fans, can kind of go find something, these places, in case we never heard of them. And what does it, is it a heavyweight championship or what does it represent?
Which one? The Wrestlers
whatever. Yeah, the other companies that you spoke of.
Oh yeah. The other two titles that I hold currently are heavyweight championships.
Okay, and which companies are they for?
All right, one is for Raise the Bar Wrestling.
Raise the Bar. Okay.
And the other one is 1CW Pro Wrestling. And you can look both of those up on Facebook, YouTube.
Okay. Where are the promotions located geographically?
Wrestlers Lab, they're in New Jersey. 1CW is in Delaware, and Raise the Bars in Jersey as well.
Oh, nice. I have to check those out. Now we've spoke of a few promotions that you've worked at. Are there any that you kind of regularly work at, or is there a home base that the Hitman comes from?
I would say, well, it's weird because I'm from DC, and before, I would say maybe a couple of months ago, yeah, I didn't really wrestle in DC or Maryland, and that's like my home base. Like Delaware, the company Delaware One CW, I wrestle there the most. They had me booked, on a regular, and like outside of that, I'm just all over the place. Like, Tennessee, Florida, sometimes Pennsylvania. I wrestled in Vegas. I wrestled in Mexico, Canada, Maine, New York. Like it's just weird. You never know where I'm gonna end up.
Now, obviously, you're putting in the work, the drives, the effort, everything, the perseverance, everything that goes with being a wrestler, because I talk about that very often on these. It's probably one of the hardest things in the universe to become a wrestler and be a successful wrestler. So before all of this happened, were you working every single weekend, or did you have a specific schedule you worked by, or how often were you competing?
I try to work like as much as I can, like every weekend. Usually in January, I take off. So, once the new year hit, I only had one show that month, and that was at Battle Club. And that was like the first weekend of January. Then I took the rest of that off. And I usually just, put that to the side for family time to give my body a chance to heal and, just to nurse some injuries because once the year starts moving, it's like I really don't have time to nurse it. But like at the beginning of the year, it's usually slow. So, I would say that's the only time that I usually try to keep my schedule full. And I mean not full, but try to keep it unbooked for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Now, you were talking about letting your body heal. I know a lot of men and women in the industry, and they just go, 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 go until they get hurt. And then they have no choice but to kind of be shelved for a few months or so.
Yeah.
Taking that time to let your body replenish itself, your tissues kind of heal, and your muscles and all of that good stuff. Very smart on your end. I've never heard any wrestler say that they set aside a specific time of the year to kind of just, you know what? I need this for me, my family, my body, my mind, all of that. I applaud you on taking that time to doing those things. What made you kind of get into that ritual, if you will, or regimen of taking that time off?
Well, I'm a big family man, and I'm a firm believer of, it's good to have your kids on the road with you, and it's good to have them, you know, seeing what you do. But at the end of the day, I don't want them to think that I put wrestling before them. So in order to do that, like I tell them, you're not gonna get every weekend with just us because I have to work. So on times that I don't, I make sure that we're going out, we're having fun, and they understand that, hey, daddy is doing this because it can potentially, make it so he can take care of us and not have to worry about anything anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to January, I just, right after Christmas, I just make sure that whole month, I make sure that it's no wrestling for them, like, and they don't have anything to worry about.
Hey, that's awesome, man. Again, the first wrestler I've ever heard specifically say they take X time off to let everything kind of calm down a little bit and do some family time. Love that, my friend. Now, there's another one that you spoke of. Never mind. We already covered those two heavyweight championships. Now, DC, you spoke that you don't wrestle, and where you're where you're from. Is it a lack of wrestling in the area, or how come you just don't stay in your home base?
Well, until just recently, wasn't it was almost impossible to get a license to wrestle in DC. The only people who could do it was WWE. So once they made it more affordable, Primetime Pro Wrestling, they started up a company and they started running in DC. And for whatever reason, they decided that, they really didn't have the room to book me. until I believe it was their show in November. And you know, they booked me last minute. They literally booked me the day before the show. And I went in there, had one of the best matches of the night, and you know, never got any more dates. Then there was another company who you can also look up. They're called Fight what is it? Fight Wrestling, yeah.
Okay.
And that's F the number one GHT.
Ooh.
Yeah. And they're on IWTV. They have stuff on YouTube. They actually have a match that I had on YouTube right now against Johnny Cross. And I believe the match between Fred Yehi and I is on there as well.
Uh,
But go ahead.
you spoke of now again. I love seeing the talents grow, but you've spoke of a guy like Fred Yehi, who we've seen on TV. We know what he's about, and he's a fantastic talent. When you're getting into the ring, with somebody of a Fred Yehi's caliber, do you feel the nerves build up a little bit more than usual, or do you just take it all in kind of one stride, if you will?
I look at it like this. He bleeds like like bleed. He, urinates the way I urinate. I'm afraid of no man on this planet. If I'm gonna get my ass whooped, I'm gonna get my ass whooped, and I'm gonna take it like a man. So, you know, I don't go in there nervous. I don't go in there, usually with butterflies. I go in there to one, kill it, two, give the fans a reason to come back and talk about that match. And three, like protecting my opponent. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. You have to, no matter how y'all go out there and how much y'all beat each other up, you still have to keep, your opponent safe. They have a family, they got to go home at night, like after the show. So that's what it's all about.
You speak like a true professional, my friend, because that safety portion of the program, and I know nobody wants to hurt anybody, but that is so up there on that list of factors when it comes to being inside that ring. I talk a lot about safety because I don't like seeing any of the men and women get hurt at all. It really kind of bums me out. And it bums me out, but I can't imagine the person being injured and having to take those months off and such. Now, you spoke of Delaware, you kind of run more regularly than other places. Now, in Delaware, I've seen a few companies that have, I try to, anyways, keep my eye on the pulse. What else is out in Delaware besides the one that you spoke of?
Well, they have Totem Pro. They mainly do like student shows for the most part, at least to my knowledge.
Okay.
It's another one out there called Infinite Pro. And I don't know, I don't really see them run too many shows anymore, like in the area. They're usually like traveling, like I've seen them do shows in like Ohio, stuff like that. So really not too familiar with them anymore. It's another company called, I think it's called Dynamite Championship Wrestling, DCW. They run out of Delaware. And it's another one. I forgot what they're called. Yeah, it's like one more, but Delaware is not really a big, wrestling state, to be honest.
Well, the reason why I ask is because it gives us the fans some more federations, some more promotions to kind of check out, maybe see some more talent that we've never seen before, check out some new stuff. That's why a lot of these interviews I do, and I know I say, to kind of let us know what they're called and stuff. I think the more that we know, the more we get to see of you men and women traveling and checking out different promotions and such. So that's why I always keep, that's why I continue asking of different places to check out.
Yeah.
Now, how long has Mr. Grimm been in the game?
Well, this year, this September will make 7 years.
Okay. Now, 7 years, it's not a lengthy career, but it's not a short career either. So you've been able to gain some good experience over the course of a 7-year career. I see you again. I see you come down, and you look like there's one thing on your mind. And I know your name is the Hitman for Hire, but you literally look like you're coming down to kill people. Not half the time, not a quarter of the time. Every single time I've seen you come down to the ring, and even watching your footage, uh, my man, you come down with a purpose. I would like to talk about the character of the Hitman. How does this come about? You're a hired gun. You come down with a body bag. How does this all come about?
Well, the Hitman part, that's actually, I mean, let me see. How can I put this? It's not literal when I say this, but for the neighborhood gang that I used to run with when I was young, I was literally like their hitman. And when I say that, it's like I didn't believe in jumping people. Like I've never jumped anybody a day in my life. So I told them, if it's people we got beef with, you can put their guy against me and we can fight it out or whatever, and whatever happens after that happens. But I'm not participating in jumping anybody. I'd rather fight one on one, and whatever y'all do after that is on y'all. So when there were issues, I was the one that they sent to, pretty much go fight people. So that's where the whole hitman comes from. And Grim, I was given that name by one of my best friends, back when I was living in DC, and he got killed. So I kind of used that to pay homage to him. And as far as the body bag goes, Nyla Rose is the reason that body bag is even relevant or a thing right now. Because one day she hit me up, and said, "Hey, Grum, Amazon has body bags on sale for $20. Take that information and do what you want with it." And then she just hung up the phone. So right after that, I immediately went on Amazon and bought a body bag.
It seems to work for the whole package, if you will. It's like a piece of the puzzle. Maybe it wasn't missing, but once you added it to what you're doing, man, it really elevates. Like I said, you come down, you want to kill people, and not only that, once you're done with the match, you're literally stuffing the body in the body bag?
Yep, and carrying them away.
Wait, you carry them away from the ring? You don't leave the body bag like sitting there? You actually carry them away?
Put them in the body bag. I pull them out the ring, throw them over my shoulder, and take them away.
Has anybody said, "I'm not getting in that thing"? I don't care what the fuck you say.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a couple of people who, haven't been okay with it, but, I'm not going to ever try to make anybody do something that they're not comfortable with. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to do it, that's cool. If you don't, cool. I mean, it doesn't really make a difference because I'm going to get over and they're going to remember me regardless.
Absolutely, because I remembered you from the very first time I seen you, and I couldn't wait to see you more. But you were such a distance away from, because I'm in Connecticut, so we have quite a distance between us. So seeing Mr. Grimm on the reg for me is something that I don't get a chance to do. But okay, now I'm gonna flip the script on that body bag question. Is there anybody that's been like ultra excited to be like, dude, I can't wait till you stuff me in that body bag?
Yeah, it actually has. And it's weird. It was actually a booker. He used to run a company in Delaware, and like he literally booked me because he said, "My girlfriend wants to get in your body bag, so I want to book you." I was like, "Okay," but yeah, some people they just want to know what it feels like to get in a body bag, and Joey Janela and we had a body bag match, which you can actually see on the Wrestlers Lab channel, on their YouTube channel. And yeah, it was a lot of it was crazy. Like my son, he actually was in that match with me at the time. I believe, what was that, like maybe 2 years ago? So he had to been like maybe 8 or 9. And a clip of him getting kicked by Joey Janela went viral. So
How old was your son at the time?
he was either 8 or 9.
Oh, geez. Holy crap! Oh man, uh, I don't know if you're familiar with Slick Wagner Brown and Tessa Strength Wrestling. They're out of East Hartford, Connecticut. Are you
Yeah,
familiar with the company?
yeah, I'm familiar with. I was actually supposed to work testosterone.
Be still my heart, my friend. I go to every single Tessa Strength show that there is. Please come to Tessa Strength. But my point being on saying that is, we watched Ty shine. He's been gone for with an injury for a while, but he came back at their last big show called Lone Survivor 2, and he DDT'd a child, not as young as an 8 or 9 year old, but he was like a teenager, and the place, we lost our absolute shit. And everybody just wants to pee on Ty Shine now, like, and he's loving every second of it. Uh, wow. Uh, you mentioned Test Your Strength. I would love to see you in Test Your Strength, sir. Wow, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I
Now,
mean, we
Test Your
spoke.
Strength. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we spoke like a couple of times, and it's like we kind of just fell out of contact. But
Mm-hmm.
they were definitely interested in bringing me down.
Oh man, I could totally understand why. Now, Test Your Strength, they do two different kind of aspects, if you will. They do their smaller shows, which is called Training Day at their dojo. It's probably like 20, 30 seats in a room with a ring. That's it. And man, we have some fun there, but it's a very, very intimate setting. Where we go to the other shows where they started taking them on the road, we go to the bigger venues, like the Deuce in Northampton, and just bigger seating, Uh,
Yeah.
my point being is that the training days is so very intimate. Do you like those really tight, intimate settings? Because the fans, we're right there, man. And I know Beyond and a couple of the companies, they have the fans like right up against the ring. But are you comfortable with those really tight, intimate settings at all?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind at all. Like my whole, purpose is just, to give the fans something to remember, like to entertain everybody. That's like I don't care how close you are. I mean, now it's a little different because of the pandemic that's going on, but I used to love those intimate shows because even though it's not that many people, if you get like a good 20, 30 people who are into it like the whole time, I mean,
Mhm.
it makes it feel like, it's more than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I just absolutely love that smaller setting. I think it's just phenomenal because we're so right there. We get to be invested and see everything, and sometimes hear a little bit more than we should. But I just love that intimate setup, man. Now, we talked about how long you've been in the game. We talked about your character now. Now, leading up to the character, the Hitman for Hire, Mr. Grimm. When you started off, that's usually not where people are right now. Were you kind of some kooky character, like when Kane was a Christmas creature or something like that? Please give us some kooky little beginning story because I love those stories.
Well, I mean, you hit that one right on the nose. I did a football gimmick.
You wait, what?
Yeah, I had a football gimmick, and I would come out there like when I would do my entrance. I would come out there with my shoulder pads on, my jersey, my helmet, and like at the entrance, like I would do like the little Ray Lewis dance, and then make my way to the ring. And yeah, I'll probably say it was the worst thing that I ever could possibly do wrestling wise.
What was your character name?
TNT Boom.
Yeah. Oh, I love that stuff, dude, because hey, you don't always get the character on the first shot. Sometimes it takes a little bit of doing.
Yeah, I mean that character was never supposed to be permanent anyway because I always like even when I was training, I wanted to do something like grim related, and I couldn't be grim as a football player.
Right.
So the company that I was training with, they said, if I had a gimmick already, I could get on shows a lot sooner. So I mean, that's what I went with. I was just coming out of when I started training, I was just coming, from playing college football, and it just seemed like it was an easy transition. Let me go from the field to the ring and let's try to incorporate it. I mean, it was cool. And right before I, killed that character off, I was just starting to become one with the character and making everything mesh. And, it's unfortunate, but this character gets over a lot better.
So at that point, you're saying it was on the cusp of possibly working, but in your mind, you were like, you know what? I'm just not feeling this because now was it forced though? Even though you were a football player, you kind of trying to take that transition. Do you feel it was a little bit forced as a wrestling character?
I don't feel like it was forced. I just felt like the business was oversaturated with football gimmicks,
I
and
got
in the immediate area where I was working, because you
okay.
had Mr. Touchdown from Shakara, that's in like Pennsylvania. Then you had D-Line, they did stuff with ROH. They wrestled in Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania. And then you had another guy who was doing a football gimmick who only wrestled in Virginia. So people are saying, we have the D-Line or we have Mr. Touchdown. Like, why do we need you? So
Hmm.
I kind of got, tired of people. It gets very old and it gets, kind of depressing at times where, you're trying to get opportunities and people keep telling you no because it's all.
Hmm.
So,
Now, going from the football guy, did the transition to Grim go right after that, or was there something or two in between?
nah, it literally went from football guy to, you know, Mr. Green coming out in a full suit and then at the ring taking his suit off and having his gear under him. Like,
Ooh.
so,
Now that's
I,
something you don't. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, I don't come out in the suit anymore. I mean, I'm trying to find a way to incorporate the suit back into it. But ever since Low Key started doing the whole, the Hitman thing with the suit, the white shirt, and the red tie, I was like, I need to find another way to, make this stand out and not make it seem like I'm trying to, mock him or anything like that.
Exactly. So doing the suit thing, it's a little timely as in your entrance, and especially you're coming out, you're already kind of sweaty and the whole 9 yards. So it's probably a little bit difficult to probably take it off, right?
Well, it was at like the first time that I did it because I've only done it like a couple of times. But what I was thinking, and like Nyla Rose had given me like some pointers. She was telling me, why don't I cut the sides of the pants and make them like rip aparts, which
Hmm.
would make more sense if I did that.
Hmm. Yeah, because I remember seeing it even still nowadays, like uh, Garza, he gets up on the top, and he rips off the whole thing, the tearaways. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying get a tearaway suit made because it might look a tad corny for a hitman, but but something along those lines might be a little bit easier to incorporate, the suit portion. Um, so the the body bag, I want to get back to just for a quick second. Is that the still original body bag that Miss Rose turned you on to? Is that the original one that you bought?
No, that the very first one that I bought was first of all it wasn't OSHA approved. The one that I have now fits all the OSHA regulations. But
Okay.
it was pretty much like a body bag, trash bag. And if you zip it up, like all the air will be trapped in it. So,
Mm.
funny story. It was one guy. It was I forgot what his name was, but I body bagged him after the match, and then I zipped the body bag up. So I zipped it all the way up, and I'm still in gimmicks, trying to keep a straight face. And I hear him in the bag. He's like, "Hey, Grim, I can't breathe." I was like, "Oh shit." He's like, "No, I really can't breathe. Like, let me out. And I'm like right at the entrance. And I'm sitting up there like trying to keep a straight face, stay in character. And he's like kicking and shaking, and he's like, I really can't breathe. So I had to hurry up and get through the curtain and like put him down and unzip it. And like when it came, like once I unzipped it, like all this steam came out. I was like, oh shit, you really couldn't breathe.
Wow.
So
What?
the one that I have now, air can kind of get through it, like, and it's not gonna be stuck in there or trapped, when I zip it up. And it's actually a body bag that they use to put dead people in. And I think, that one has like a more professional look. And yeah, I like that one way better.
Now I bounce around a lot with the timeline thing, so just kind of bear with me. You were talking about when you were coming up and training. Where did you train at?
I trained at EWA, and they're based out of Maryland. I was trained by a guy that goes by the name of Matt Wild.
Okay. EWA, what's that stand for?
Well, back then it was like Eastern Wrestling Alliance. Now I'm not sure because they switched up the abbreviation of the
Okay.
meaning, so I don't know what they're called now.
Uh, Now, what I like to do is gauge the men and women that I talk to, because we, the fans and the wrestlers, we have this dance that we do. When you come out the curtain, you give us the signals, we react, and so forth throughout the match. So you go back out the curtain. We cheer, we boo, we chant, we do whatever. And we have that relationship. Now, my question is, how long did it take for Mr. Grimm to actually hear the fans, to get away from that tunnel vision of, I got to get this spot right, I got to make sure I'm safe and all of that good stuff? When did you feel that you've grasped on to hearing us, the fans, and being able to react to it and having a little bit more fun with us?
I would say maybe probably like my second year of running this character, because it was a lot that I was going through, because I went from working any and everywhere to only working, doing quality over quantity.
Mm.
And I realized that the crowds are a lot different when you're just wrestling for the DEF companies opposed to the A, B, and C's.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a big difference. You'll have some crowds, that just react to anything, and then you'll get crowds who actually want to see good wrestling. And those, the crowds that I work for now, it makes it a lot easier, now to go out there. Like usually I have tunnel vision when I'm, making my entrance. Like a lot of times I don't look at the crowd, I look through them. And, that has a lot to do with my gimmick because, with this character, I don't want them to think that they're on the same level as me. Like I'm better than you, and I'm not going to even give you, the satisfaction of thinking that I looked at you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually when I'm a heel. But when I'm a face, even if I'm, doing the whole high five thing, I'm still looking through you. So it's like and I believe football has helped with that a lot because, when I would go out there, like we would have a lot of, like, if we were, at the away team's stadium, they would boo, and every time we would do something, it's like, oh, boo and stuff, and you can't pay attention to that. You have to keep your head in the game regardless of where you are. Like, regardless of, if the crowd is cheering for you, if the crowd is booing, like you still have to go out there and be able to hear the quarterback. And like, because I played offense, you have to hear the quarterback, hear his cadence, know, where the linebackers are, where the corners are, safeties are, and just being able to, be on the field and be able to have, the cognitive ability to be able to pay attention to the quarterback, run my route, pay attention to the linebacker, see if he's, sitting on my route, to know to keep moving or to curl up. Like all of that, helped me to be able, to handle wrestling because it's pretty much the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like at any given time, during a match, you might have to call an audible. Something may happen, instead of you going on the fly route, you have to break off and do a comeback. Like,
Mm-hmm. Now, we see as fans in the WWE specifically, I'm going to use them specifically because once they do some new signees for the new class of the Performance Center, they usually put a picture out with their names. If it's a fitness model, a football player, or what. We see a lot of football players try to do that transition between football and wrestling. And most times than not, sir, we see them kind of go away or never even make it to the TV. Going from football to wrestling, how hard was that for you personally?
it wasn't hard going from football to wrestling for me. What was hard was, me having my street mentality and coming to a business to where it's like, keep your eyes and ears, open and your mouth closed. Because me, I don't take shit from anybody. If I have an issue with you, I'm gonna let you know that I have an issue with you. If I don't like you, I'm not gonna act like I like you. And coming into the business, when I was a rookie, you would have a lot of people that would say certain things and that would feel entitled because of the position or how many years that they were in. And me, I didn't take that shit. Now, that knowing my place was the hardest part. It really wasn't me, being on coming from football to wrestling, but it was just understanding that I need to learn to fight the battles that actually are worth fighting.
Absolutely.
After I learned, my place, things became a lot easier. Like people are always going to talk about you, but you don't have to acknowledge or, go after every single person that talks about you because like, me coming up, hanging out with the neighborhood gang, like we used to fight people just for stuff that they would say to us. Like, oh, hey, he called you a bitch and I'm punching you in your mouth. Like, so I had to learn, I can't do that here. And if I do, I'm not going to be able to fight everybody and still have a credible career.
Very sound, very sound words to do that transition because it wasn't the athletic portion of it. It was a different part of it. Like you just threw me for a loop because I didn't expect that to come. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. Now, I have a picture that I put on, I do the little Mr. Grimm coming on, later on tonight or what have you. But one of the pictures that I put on, you're coming down the ramp of MLW Fusion, if I'm not mistaken. Could you
Yeah.
talk to us, the fans, on how you got to the MLW Fusion and what was that experience like? Because you went from, maybe some smaller feds, if you will, and MLW is really picking up. So kind of give us your thoughts on that.
Well, honestly, the whole MLW thing just came about, being in the right place and the right time and having the right name, to be honest. Because I went down to that was during Mania week last year. And I literally just went down there to help out. I was transporting the talent back and forth, like from the hotel to the venue. And, they had me picking up tuxedos, picking up coffee for people. And, like I said, I was just there to help any way that I could.
Right.
So two of the people that I ended up picking up, and they were in the car together, was Low Key and what was the other guy's name? I forgot his name. Well, his old tag team partner. I forgot what his name was. The little short guy who comes out with the Hispanic girl. I forgot her name too. but but they were in the car, and we were just talking, and everything went good. I like Loki and I, we actually had like a little bonding moment for a second. I put on like I was playing my music, and then a Biggie Small song came on, and he was like, "Oh, what you know about that?" So it was kind of cool. So we had finished, putting up the chairs in the ring and stuff like that, and it was a guy who was supposed to be in a squash match with them. His name was Chris Pagan, and he didn't show up for whatever reason. So they knew my name was Chris. And it was weird because they're in the ring, going over the match, and they're calling Chris. And, I'm not used to people in the business calling me Chris. They call me Grim. So,
Right.
like, I'm still, going around checking, like, the chairs and stuff, making sure they're even. And they're like, "Hey, Chris." And I'm looking around. I'm like, then I just keep going. And they said, "Chris." And I look, I was like, "Me?" He was like, "Yeah, come on." So, like, low key, he had called me into the ring, and Ricky Martinez, that was his name, Ricky Martinez. Okay. So he called me in the ring, and he was like, "Yo, you trying to work us tonight?" I was like, "Is that even a question?" Like, so, after that, it was just, I got in the ring. We went over the match, went over, what they wanted me to do, and the rest is history. I was just in the right place at the right time with the right name.
Nice. That's a fantastic story. Thank you for sharing that with us, because we wouldn't hear these kind of stories, especially from one Mr. Grimm, because at the shows you're mean, you're nasty. So I appreciate you sharing those kind of stories. When you're at MLW, who was your opponent?
It was Loki and Ricky Martinez.
Now, getting the experience, and I know you did mention that, but I just kind of want to reiterate that getting the experience from those kind of guys, that kind of promotion, that's got to feel really cool to just get that little piece, another added piece of the puzzle that makes Grimm a wrestler.
Yeah, it felt really good, and what really what made my night complete was after the match, like Conan, took the time to come up to me and said, "Hey, look, man, I really appreciate what you did. You made those boys look good." And hearing that from a legend like Conan, really meant a lot. And even Court, he came up to me, after the show, because I was a little discouraged at first because I was like, you know, I felt like MLW knew who I was, but it was like they just didn't want to give me an opportunity. And come to find out, they knew exactly who I was. Like I talked to Court, he said he liked my stuff, and he kept it real with me. He was like, we have this amount of contracts right now, and this amount of talent. So right now there really isn't a place for you. And I'm like, it made me feel a lot better because the fact that I went there, did what I had to do, made them to look good. Conan like came up to me, Court came up to me, and everybody, even in the back was saying, I did a good job. So that's really all that mattered, you know.
Leaving us leaving a time in wrestling, an experience like that, but walking away from that and just getting that adulation and those good words, that sound feedback from the peers, it just got to really take the insides and really elevate yourself and be like, man, I am so ready, man. I am just so ready to hit that big platform.
And I
Now,
mean, I am, but it's just like, what my football coach used to tell me, like, it's about timing. Like, you're not there right now because it's just not your time yet. It doesn't mean that you're not good enough. It doesn't mean that you don't have, the skills or the ability to be there. You just
right?
have to wait your turn. Like, just like what happened, that got me in that MLW position. Sometimes being in the right place at the right time is what'll get you there.
Yeah, that's for sure, especially in wrestling, because there's so many men and women that can't make these shows for many reasons, and they need people to fill those spots. And being there helping out during Mania weekend and getting that chance, and I will never get in that ring. I don't pretend to be a wrestler or know what the F I'm talking about. But those words that you just spoke of, those are the things you want to do as a rising wrestler to try to elevate your career. You never know what the hell could come out of it, man.
That's true. And like I told you, like I was there just to help. I wasn't
Hmm.
expecting, to get on. I wasn't expecting anything. I just wanted, to help.
Now, in Mr. Grimm's career, we're about 7 years deep. Are you looking to be on that big platform, the WWE, the AEWs and NWAs and all of that good stuff? Or are you comfortable in the indie scene, kind of doing your thing?
My goal is to eventually get signed by one of the big companies.
Okay.
That's what I'm working towards. I mean, granted, it's not bad being on the indie scene if you're one of those top tier people,
Hmm.
but a lot of times you can't get to you know, that top tier if people aren't providing you the opportunities to get there. Because it's like, I feel a lot of people who get opportunities like with Beyond, Limitless, and those other big companies, they they get seen by more people, and that's how I feel that they blow up. And I honestly feel like I mean, even though I was on the main roster of Limitless for a good year and some change, like I feel that, if I can just get more eyes on me, that, that's really all I need.
Hmm.
But it's
Because
about,
in yeah, because when I started doing this phone stuff, I would just go to shows, do little clips, start networking with some of the men and women, and they were digging the stuff. And then some companies were actually asking me to start, doing full match footage. And I don't mind doing that either, networking with more and more people. But I was always told, you never know who's watching. You're not going to get a like from everybody that's watching. You're not going to get a little mean face from everybody that's watching. You're not going to get reached out from everybody that's watching. But like you spoke of, Mr. Bauer, Court Bauer, he was like, I know me some Grim. I like your stuff. You didn't even know that. We never know who's watching the footage, my friend, ever.
that's true. True.
Now, we've talked much about Mr. Grimm, the organizations he's been in, and many other things. Before I do let you go, I would kind of like to get out of you when we come back from everything that's going on, whatever normal is going to be, who the hell knows what that's going to look like. But when normal comes back, are there any specific promotions that either you haven't touched it, haven't been a part of, that you would like to be a part of, or some other promotions where you might have some unfinished business? Throw a couple of them at us if you could.
Well, definitely my goal is for starters Beyond. Like I've done like some studio tapings with them, but I I want that opportunity with Beyond because I feel like, if I can get in front of their fans, that they'll like me. I just did some work with CZW. That was like a goal of mine, when I first started. I did like one of their pay-per-view shows that was on Fight TV, so hopefully more work with them. And I want to get back out to XWA, Limitless, and Freelance. I was actually in talks with Freelance, and I was supposed to potentially make my debut in April. And this happened and that got canceled. You know, so I'm hoping, I can. And hold on, what is it? I think it's AAW down, I believe, in Chicago. That's another company that I want to get with.
Now, I feel you actually might be a good fit for a company like, and I know it's different than the other platforms, but NWA, I don't know if you've seen, but they've come back, and I'm sure you have seen. NWA's come back. They're very old school, just like NWA used to be. The podium, I mean, you name it. The way the studio was set up, no music, no entrance music when you come out, for crying out loud. I mean, that's like the old school NWA. Would you be able to see yourself being a fit in a company like NWA or nah?
I do. And a lot of people have said that they think that I will be a good fit with NWA. And I mean, if the opportunity presents itself, then I'm definitely gonna kick that door in. So
Well, I don't know what the future is going to hold for Mr. Grimm. All we can do is make sure you go on the oh, before I do let you go, where do we find the Hitman? Is it YouTube, IG? Give us your social stuff.
Well, I'm on I'm on Facebook. I have a like page. I have an Instagram page. I have a YouTube page. The best
Okay.
way to find my stuff, and I'm big on marketing. So I made a name to where if you typed it in, my stuff will come up and not a whole bunch of other stuff. Like you can
Okay.
literally go on like any search bar, put in either the Hitman for Hire Mr. Grimm with one M or Mr. Grimm Wrestler. If you put that in, all of my stuff will pop up.
Awesome. Man, that seems like an easy way to find some Mr. Grimm footage and all of the media, if you will. Mr. Grimm, I cannot thank you for spending the time. And again, we've never even talked outside the ring because you don't talk to many people outside the ring. But was so stoked that you said yes. And on top of that, you've spent an hour with me instead of kicking me to the curb after 12 minutes. I didn't expect you to stomach me for this long. So I appreciate you spending the time with us and giving us some insight on Mr. Grimm for the fans. I really do appreciate it, sir.
Nah, I appreciate you, like I said, reaching out and, asking me to do this. Like I'm always willing to do, podcasts, talk about, my career and,
Nice.
just give people let them see a different side of me.
Uh, that's an absolute fact right there because you're as we've been talking, I was going to mention it earlier, but I figured I'd leave it alone. You're very low key. We're just kind of hanging out like a couple friends. You didn't turn on the Grim, which is fine by me because I'm built like a candle and I only weigh 35 pounds, so you'd scare the shit out of me. So I can't wait to see what the future holds for Mr. Grimm. Fans, get out there. Type some of this stuff. Look back if you can't remember. Look back at some of the things, some of the promotions and stuff that Mr. Grimm mentioned because we love new promotions, new talent. Get out there. Check out that stuff. This is Stir in the Pot with Don Kincaid and my very special guest, the Hitman for Hire, Mr. Grimm. Thank you again, my man.
Appreciate it, man.